You know, with so many parents working nowadays, the question really becomes, who's going to take care of the little ones while mom and dad are off at work? Or for that matter, who's going to take care of those in elementary school who come home and find no mom and dad there because they're still at work? We're going to examine alternatives in daycare, and perhaps one of those alternatives may suit your needs. Estimates are that nationally 6 million preschoolers say goodbye to their parents each day as their parents leave for work. Here in Franklin County, some 65,000 youngsters say goodbye to mom and dad for most of the day. The children of the baby boom era of the late 40s and early 50s are now parents themselves of toddlers. In Columbus, the Kiddie Prep Center serves parents in the University and Patel vicinity. Victorian Park also cares for children in the university area and for some whose parents work downtown. Both are licensed by the State Department of Public Welfare, with teachers having at least a high school degree. To those parents in Columbus, weekly fees are between $37 and $45. The younger the child, the higher the fee for diapers and other items. Kiddie Prep accepts children as young as 3 months, while at Victorian Park, children must be 6 months old to be accepted.
Give me a kiss. Okay, you go on up there. Go to school.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Kathy Sherritt is a psychologist who is just completing a year's sabbatical at Ohio State University.
They have a certain amount of structure. You have your snack at the same time every day, and your lunch and your nap at the same time every day. But around that structure is built in a certain amount of flexibility to account for the various kinds of interests and activity levels of the children. If you have a babysitter come into your own home, you might be able to have that kind of flexibility. But what I don't see happening when you have a babysitter come in your own home is the development of independence that you get in a child that goes to a daycare center. And I think it's really valuable for a child to have experiences with other children of different ages and to experience the different teachers and to learn how to adapt to situations in a daycare center. What I've discovered is that the children respond according to how the parents respond. And parents who are very frightened about leaving their child or feel guilty about leaving their child show it to the child in some way, and then the child complains a lot and cries until the parent disappears and the door closes and they're fine. I really don't feel guilty because I really feel that my child is in a very good place, that he's having a good time, he's learning a lot of things, and he's growing, and he doesn't have any problem.
But you yourself were probably reared at home rather than...
Yes, I was. Mm-hmm.
Do you see any differences? Were you leery at first about doing that?
Before I had the baby, I knew I was going to go back to work, and that was all fine. Right after I had both Sean and Christopher, when it came time to stop staying at home and to leave them either a daycare center or a babysitter, I felt awful. Just awful.
The first couple days, she was quite happy because it was real new. Then about the third or fourth day, when she seemed to realize that it was not going to be a novelty, it was going to be an everyday thing, she would say, I don't want to go to school. And there were a couple mornings that was real hard to leave her. She really cried. There was one morning when I had to pry her little hands loose for me and hand her over to someone else. And I nearly cried all the way to work.
There's no way anybody could take care of them like I could. It's going to be terrible. You just have terrible thoughts. It's impossible to explain.
How did you overcome that?
I gritted my teeth and left him for the first couple of days, and he was obviously perfectly happy when I came to pick him up.
There's never a dull moment for children at Victorian Park or Kiddie Prep.
The rooms, they have like housekeeping areas where they can dress up and play and have a good time playing house, or they can choose to sit quietly and look at books. Many children don't waken up so early and want to be so active, so they have that opportunity to sit in a book corner. And then they may also play with trucks, and most of the little boys are ready to be active, and that's what they want to do early in the morning. And then after that, they may go back up to the room. With the older children, this is the time when they do their structured learning. They then have had get rid of some of excess energy that they have, and they are ready to sit a little bit and do some learning, and this is a good timing. They sit usually in a group at this time at tables, and according to their age, they can, the teacher will work with them in learning their letters, their numbers, or whatever. And then about that time, it's about time for lunch, so they may go back downstairs for lunch. They're very busy, very active, very mobile.
Most of the children are here a long time. If their parents work 8 hours, they can be here up to as much as 9 hours a day. And that's really important, I feel, at this young age, that they get a lot of tender, loving care. The kids need to feel good about themselves. We want them to be happy. We really want them to like themselves, to want to come here and just feel like they're having a good time. And I think a lot of that involves, if you have to hug someone, give them a kiss, give them a pat, let them know that everything's just, that's fine, it's okay, and we love you. We don't want these little robots walking around in an institution, you know. We want love and tenderness.
Let's turn now to examine the Montessori concept of daycare. Begun in the early 1900s by Dr. Maria Montessori in Italy, Montessori begins by grouping children ages 3 to 6 and places an emphasis on education. How would you explain the difference between a traditional daycare center and a Montessori school?
Well, I would begin by telling them about the work versus play, that in the morning it is more of a work situation where the child is learning to do things for himself, that he is making choices. He has freedom within limits to work in a prepared environment. Different stages of development of learning go on at that time. Then I would explain to them that the afternoon is the playtime, when they can play with their dolls in the kitchen and dress up if they want to do that.
Lila Carroll is director of St. Joseph's Montessori in Columbus, Ohio, and she explains the education Montessori teachers receive.
All of our teachers are well trained in our teacher institutions, teacher training institutions, like Ohio State University here and others. But beyond that, our teachers here, almost all now, have certificates from the American Montessori Society. They take special training. And indeed, this summer I watched the training of teachers for the 3 to 6 group, and the training is very, very rigorous and very demanding. Teachers meet for 6 to 8 weeks here with instructors who are Montessori trained. Indeed, some of them were trained in Italy. Others in this country. They are trained in all aspects of materials, child development, psychology. This may over and above what they were trained for in our regular institutions. And then they are interns for a year, and they are observed as, they're both teachers and learners in our schools. At the end of the year, they are given their certificate.
It's very important for the teacher to set up this prepared environment so that you have a triangle. You have the teacher, the child, and the environment. And at no point is it just the teacher and the child. One cannot function without the other. You need the teacher and the environment, you need the environment and the child, and you need the teacher and the child working together. In our 3-hour morning program, we have several different areas. We have the practical life area, which is for the development of order, concentration, coordination, and independence. We have work exercises set up the child that the child can do successfully and really feel proud that he can button the button frame, or he can pour and not have a spill. Or if he does have a spill, then we have a sponge for cleanup. That's all right. You know, the work is there for the child to learn how to do successfully. And then what it's doing is building up the child's self-confidence. I can do it. Look at me.
How would you explain to them the difference between a Montessori school and a daycare center?
I want to sum it up by saying a preparation for a way of life. Montessori, that's a big word and so on. But because the child is learning how to make choices, you know, as we grow older, we're always constantly having problem solving, decisions to make, and we're starting with a very young 3-year-old. And if he has a spill, that's all right. There's a way to clean it up. If something breaks, we have things to clean it up in the classroom. We'll help you solve that problem. If he gets into a fight with another child, he took this from me and I want to play with that. We're there to help that child problem solve. So we're helping that child as he begins his, way of development, his way of life.
Still another alternative for daycare involves latchkey children such as Holly and Eric. These children are often 9 years old or older and arrive home on their own before Mom or Dad arrive.
Hello, Mom? Good? Yeah?
Well, they come in, and I have a list for them, and they have some responsibilities and chores. For instance, Holly will empty the dishwasher, and Eric will do the silverware. He's to empty the trash, they're to straighten their rooms, whatever chore is written down on the list that day. They change their clothes, they call me as soon as they get here. They go out in the yard and play, they get in the kittens and change the cat litter, whatever is on the list that day.
Sandra, why did you decide to leave them alone for a couple of hours rather than, say, leaving them with a babysitter or at a daycare center for that period of time?
Well, because I felt it was time for them to feel responsible for themselves. They're at an age now where they have to learn that they are to take care of themselves, and that when they grow up, they're the ones that take care of themselves. They don't have babysitters or friends, and there are some adults walking around that expect someone else. I do have babysitters, in the evenings and when it gets dark, and occasionally. They're not alone all the time, but just once in a while, it's good for them to fend for themselves.
Don't you ever worry about someone breaking in?
Of course I do. I worry a lot all the time. I worry when they're playing, whether they're going to break their arm. But they have to learn to cope, and so do I, with situations like this.